Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane.
Insane in the Membrane.
Hello, one and all. We're back. Welcome to the show. It's your old pal, Rich Wilson. Hope you're well. Thank you to everyone for coming out to my shows. Really appreciate that. I've got some more coming up. I've got some more dates. I shall be putting them up momentarily on my website. You can find everything that we do via our link tree. If you just click on the link tree, which is in all the bios connected to this podcast and in all of my social media bios, click on the link tree. That takes you to everything that we do. It'll all be mapped out in front of you right there. It's so easy, you won't even know yourself. It's right there. Click on the link tree, bang, you're there. My website, producer Paul's website, live show dates, blogs, everything is there. Our merch, coffee, the lot. It's all in front of you. Before we begin, we've got to mention this. To become a Patreon, to get early access to behind the scenes videos, because we video these now, and our patrons get access to that, early access to that. If you go to the patreon.com/membrane podcast page, or click through the link tree in the podcast description and in all of my social media bios, that will, like I say, do that for us. It's a couple of quid a month. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for millions of pounds. It's just so we can keep going. That's all we ask, you know. So that's if you do that for us, that'd be great, and then we can keep giving you one of the finest podcasts in the land with the best guests. I mean, what a podcast this is. You know, and I say that as someone who's doing it. I'm doing it, and I love it. So you want to keep it? Give us a couple of quid. That's all. It's a couple of quid. You won't even notice it. You know, like you go and have a coffee. But it's like buying us a coffee. Like, do you want a coffee? Yeah, I'd love one. You know, it's like that. So a couple of quid, that would be lovely. Thank you so much. So my guest this week, an unusual man. He's not unusual. Well, his background is unusual. To me, anyway, as a working class man. But you know what? I say that. Working class. And it has been spoken about on this podcast. It's a weird thing, because people are more fluid than that. And I feel... yes, I sound and I look like your average van driver, but I no disrespect to van drivers, right? We're all bloody legends, us. You know, we can still drive around and not use our sat-navs. Yes, that's the thing. I'll blow people's minds when they get in the car with me. They're like, how did you get from Brighton to Cardiff, not look at your sat-nav? Because I know where I'm going. Because I remember paper maps, the books. Do you remember them? The old A to Z, I used to go, I've got to go there and I've got to go there. And that's what you do, and so we know our way around, you know. But my dad was a civil servant. My mum worked in a factory, a big bakery, so I kind of bridged that gap, you know, between middle and working class. It's just, it's like I say, there's a bit more. It's not just down the line with all of us, you know. There's more to us, you know, than society allows us to be. But the Right Honourable Tom Houghton, he lives in the Tower of London. I mean, what a life. Do you know what I mean? And that's his background. We talk about it in this episode. His background, him being the Honourable Tom Houghton, his dad being the Right Honourable, and it's fascinating to find out, because he's a really down to earth top bloke, and I love him dearly. He's a brilliant comic as well. Let's stop the wittering. Let's stop the shuntering on. Let's get him on. So coming up in a minute is Tom Houghton.
A podcast from producer Paul.co.uk.
Insane in the Membrane.
I've just had a bloody... No, I was on the train coming down, and it wasn't an argument. I kept myself together, because I was running to get the train. I'm like, I need to get the train I was on, otherwise I would have been late for this. So I bought the ticket on the app, and then I forgot that there are some train companies you can print it off, or some train companies you just use the barcode, the VR code thing. Yeah. So I'm running towards the gate, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's connect. Right. So anyway, so I just tapped into the gate. I thought, I'll worry about that later on. Got on the train, and then the ticket inspector comes down, and he's like, yeah, I went there. Sorry, mate, I need to print this off at the other end. And he was about to tell me, like, no, you have to buy another ticket, and then you have to claim that one back. And I could feel my blood levels like coming up because I get it. He's got to do a job, but it's when it's shit like that that you go, look, I've bought the ticket. You can see I've bought the ticket. Yeah. But you're now because of your bullshit bureaucracy in your company, you're now telling me that this ticket doesn't exist, and I now have to. And I could just feel it coming up. Luckily, he turned around. He went, "All right." He goes, "I'll let you off this time." But you're like, "What do you mean let me off this time?"
Because he literally saw the flames happening in your eyes. Like,
I'm a
I know
very,
what you mean,
I'm
though.
a very calm man, but it's stupidity, not his stupidity, the company's stupidity. That you go, they're so worried and panicky that someone somewhere is gonna rip them off, that they make your life so difficult.
I know what you mean. It's also, do you ever feel like it's, for some people, it's people who have sort of very minor authority roles, like bouncers are well known for this as well, where they just abuse it, and it's like, okay, you just know you've got that little bit on me with the ticket.
Yeah.
I feel like at least he did the right thing and let you through.
He did. And there was a moment where but he still had to explain what usually happens. You know, like, no, normally you have to buy a new ticket and then you have to reclaim that one back. And then I said to him, yeah, but this is a £13 ticket and I bet you that the admin charge will be a tenner. And he's like, yeah, probably. And I was like, I must have been. I must have been. Yeah. Oh, is that so? All right. I think it could feel, or maybe I was gripping the table a bit too. My knuckles had gone white with rage.
Yeah.
It's that, you know.
It's the same, like, because I've also had that times when I've messed up a ticket thing, like I've gone the wrong stop or I've had to book whatever, and you've run up to the barriers and gone, oh mate, look, I've got this, and they've just literally put you through straight away, and they haven't even looked at what you're dealing with. So
yeah.
They do have that option as well.
Yeah, and the fact that, you know, you can see I haven't dodged the train. I've done the thing, but because your technology isn't up to date and you're still old school, printing it off. Give a shit about the planet.
Yeah. Also, bloody being on a train where at King's Cross, where the barriers are so often down, I've done the amount of times I've bought like a £100 train ticket, gone through the barrier that was already down, not had my ticket checked, and then in Darlington the barriers are open, and it's like,
no. And it's like, do you take that risk? Do you spin that? Do you roll that dice? Yeah. And especially all the way to Darlington, and you haven't had a seat either. You know, I'm not paying to stand on a train. Yeah,
exactly. I've sat on some kid's fruit juice spill in an aisle for the whole time.
Yeah, in a vestibule.
Do you remember back in the 90s, Rich, where you used to just hop on a train, hide in the toilets, get to where you wanted to go, and then that was it. Old school.
How it should have been. Proper.
When the world was a better place.
And then we wonder why all these restrictions are in place now. Because there wasn't it. I must say, I won't say where I was going or what I was doing, but I'd picked up a job in between all the lockdowns and things.
Why does everything you say sound like a Guy Ritchie plot?
Just my accent.
I won't say what I was doing when I was gone, but I picked up a little bit of work down the docks. You know what I mean? Hush, hush.
Yeah. Well, only because I managed to dodge the train a few times.
Right. Okay.
It wasn't what I was doing. Wasn't fishy in any way, shape, or form. But because I took. I won't say anymore. This is probably incriminating.
Oh God!
I do see though young fellas, and it's normally young fellas. No, I'm not being sexist again, but again, like I'm sexist all the time. But you see them, it's always they just push through the barrier. They just go like they just give this like shimmy, and they just bust through, and you're like, yeah, no one's stopping you.
I've had a few, and not being sexist again, but I've had a few, the odd woman, because it has just been a woman who, when I've gone through a barrier, they've just followed me through my slipstream.
Oh, nice.
And I've like, I mean, I feel like I've been do you know what I mean? I've been violated there. It's like, that was my passage through.
Yeah. And now this is like when the zombies come, a lot of people, who are they going to stand behind? They're going to stand behind the likes of you and I.
Exactly.
We're the ones with the, we've trained for this. I say that as I'm stood there going, I'm not going out there. Fuck that.
No, absolutely not. Don't know what I do in a zombie apocalypse.
Have you seen Jordan Brooks lately? Because he's got his great bit, and he builds it up, and then he goes, and then I'd kill myself because I'm not putting myself. It's great.
I feel like that could be the end of most of Jordan's anecdotes.
Yeah. He's such a lovely guy.
He's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
Big fan. Love him.
So where are you, Tom? Are you in the Tower of London?
I am in the Tower of London, which, speaking of if there is a zombie apocalypse,
That's the place.
very good place to come.
What a place. What a
Yeah.
place.
Lots of very big walls. You ever see World War Z when there's sort of all the zombies are climbing up the wall?
Yeah.
It'd be like that over here.
That freaked me out because it usually, I grew up when zombies were, they were just trundling along. You could get away from them easily. But now they've got speed and cunning.
Rage zombies.
Rage zombies.
Rage zombies.
There's no need for that.
Yeah, I like them when they were slow.
Yeah, it was a better day.
Yeah, when you could dodge train fares and the zombies were walking at a reasonable pace. That's what I miss.
The good old days.
Yeah, but I am. Yes, I'm in the tower. In the tower right now. It's interesting time because I'm leaving soon.
All right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's been a long time being here. Many happy memories.
Yeah.
But I'm going off to my own flat, which is gonna be a downgrade. I don't think there's any way around it. It's gonna, less ghosts and
The jewelry's
general sort of.
the jewelry's going to be different.
Yeah, there is. This is where my girlfriend's left a Claire's accessories bag somewhere rather than the actual crown jewels. But it's time to move on. But I've got a few more months left in here. Going to see the super bloom that's happening in the moat.
Super Blue?
Super bloom. There's so for the Queen's Jubilee, they've ordered the entire moat to be filled with flowers.
Oh, wow.
And there's an 8-meter slide as well.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Do you think old Queenie will be taking
great.
advantage of that?
I really hope she does slide down. Can you imagine? And that's what does it. She's well, at least she's got loads of flowers.
Yeah. Well, way to go. That would be perfect for her. Perfect.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think that's a lovely send off.
So what's it been like? Like you say, ghosts and all. It must be all manner of stuff wandering the halls.
Loads of ghosts.
Yeah.
Mate of ours, I guess, Jim Campbell. I'm sure you know Jim.
Jim.
He came round my house one day and he pointed out that he just said casually, "Do you know more people have died in your house than Ted Bundy's?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess you're right there, Jim. That's a comforting thought."
Have you had to wander around at night, like when there's no one around? Or can you? I suppose you can't, can you?
No, I can. Not everywhere. I can't just go and like try the crown on and.
Can you not?
Nah.
Oh, what? I thought we were one of the perks of the job.
I know. Sadly, I can't do that, but I can walk around the grounds. It's all lit up quite nicely. My house has got quite a lot of different places you can go because my sort of the back end to my bedroom is attached to a bell tower that goes back to the 1200s.
Wow.
And then my kitchen and main bit's 1500s. So it's it's
Jesus.
300 years worth of history just to get my toast in the morning. I have to walk through the room that Guy Fawkes was interrogated in just to get to the kitchen. Yeah.
Just to get to the kitchen, just so you can moan that there's nothing in your fridge.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been amazing. And you can, as far as ghosts, like I'm not particularly supernatural, but you can always, when you go to a historic site, when you can sort of feel stuff's happened. Yeah,
oh God,
so there's always there's a presence of stuff.
Yeah, well, I believe in energy, and like you say, like so many things have happened in that where you are. It's bound to seep into the walls and affect the energy of the place.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I got some good advice for dealing with the ghosts from the woman who lives in Dover Castle.
Right.
Because when you start living in castles, Rich.
As
I'm sure you'll know one day.
Let me get a pen.
Just prepare yourself for the upgrade. She's called Jo Santa Olala was her surname.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she was amazing. She went, "Oh, Tom, what you got to do is when I moved into Dover Castle, just on the first night, I went into the main hall. I popped a bottle of champagne and I raised my glass to them and I said, spooks, spectres, spirits, I'm well aware that this is your place, but my name's Joe and I'm here for the foreseeable future. So we just need to have bygones be bygones. You keep to yourself, I'll keep to myself. I won't go moving anything around and you don't go creaking around the doors or anything. And that's that, okay? Deal.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. So the first night I was in Queen's house, I cracked a can of Foster's. I went, all right, lads. I'm Tom. Let's just be cool about this, shall we, please? Right, cheers.
And they just all kicked off because you brought Foster's to the table.
Yeah.
Well, have you? I mean, that's the thing. I listen to the Parapod a lot, and when they, Ian Boldsworth explaining about like ghosts and stuff, and I've said this a couple of times on here, when he's like, why are ghosts always dressed? That doesn't make sense. Like, their clothes don't die.
I know, and you only get them of a certain time period as well.
Yes.
You don't get any like ghost cavemen.
No.
Walking around with a club.
And it's always human beings. There's like hundreds of animals running around, and
Well, you say that, Rich. There is actually. I've just done a video on this. There was a ghost bear at the Tower of London.
What?
Yeah, I mean, this.
Has there ever been a bear?
May or may not be true, but it was like in 1660 something or something like that. One of the night wardens thought he saw the ghost of a bear just pop up.
Okay.
And he got so scared by it, he literally died of fright.
Well, I love stories like that. I love that shit.
They kept a few bears here over the years, because back in the day, the kings and queens always used to give like mental animals to each other for pets.
Right,
So
okay.
they had like a polar bear that they kept on a chain that used to fish in the sea. There's been an elephant, baboons, lions. They used to have like a snake, because they never knew how to look after them, so all the animals died really quickly. To put the snake to bed, they used to roll it up in a carpet and put it in an oven, just like
like a snake sausage roll.
yeah, it's a snake.
God.
Snakish roll, yeah. and then that's why all the animals. It was I think the Duke of Wellington then took all the animals from the Tower of London and made Regent's Park Zoo, and that's how Camden Zoo happened.
Oh, I love that shit.
Yeah.
I was never told these things at school. They just kept wanging on about the Normans. You're like, I get it.
Yeah.
The Normans came. All right, tell me something else.
Boring.
Normans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yawn, whatever. But what I like about you is that, I mean, your name is, pardon me, sorry, just coffee. But your name is Honourable Tom Houghton. Is that right?
My title is the Honourable Tom Houghton.
The Honourable. Because I said it the other day, I was talking to us, I said, Tom Houghton's coming on. I said, the Honourable. And they went, oh no, he's just Honourable. But it's the Honourable.
The Honourable is how you'd say it. So I'm not the Right Honourable, is what I think they're getting confused with.
Right.
Because the Right Honourable is someone who can actually advise on the Privy Council.
Wow.
And has a bit of power, whereas I've got fuck all power. Basically, all mine is because my dad's a lord, it's to signify that I've got a cool dad. So in social situations, when they go, this is the Honourable Tom Houghton, people go, right, his dad's important.
Ah, I see.
It's not there. Mate, I mean, I've been sacked from Weatherspoons twice, so...
Yeah, it's different.
As far as honourable, not happening.
I'll
take it, though. I'll take it.
This is what I like about you, though. Like, at the minute, if you on social media, in the news, and everyone's weighing on about class and things like that. But what I like about you is that you're aware of where you're from, but you do kind of look at it and go, "This is nuts that I'm part of this. My dad's a lord. I mean, that's." That's what I like about you. You don't walk around going, yeah, look at this. This is great. You're like, this is insane. How did I manage this?
Yeah, well, that's kind of you to say, Rich. Thank you. But I think because I've often had that with people going, oh, you're too posh to play, working class towns or anything like that. or going to these
right.
certain areas. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What I've realised with just people in general is no one actually cares if you're from that background. What people don't like is they don't like being patronised or lied to,
Yes.
or that you don't, or you think you're better. But if you just go, yeah, no, this is my situation,
Yeah.
people are fascinated by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And,
That's why I wanted to talk to you. It's like, not only are you a brilliant comic and we get on really well, but I wanted to talk about your background because I've never met anyone like that. You know, I don't know anyone whose dad's a lord, for God's sake. And it is fascinating because it's a world that we're not privy to.
No, it's so the type of lord he is a baron, which actually sounds cooler, I think. Baron.
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's killed people. Or
Well,
had people killed.
indirectly, he's killed. Yeah, I mean, I think that's you do get a lot of that sort of backlash on social media when you do get a lot of people who are the labels get thrown around with that sort of thing, which is quite hard to read. So what his whole title is: General Sir Nicholas Houghton, Knight Grand Commander of the British Empire, Constable of the Tower of London, Lord Baron of Richmond.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite the name
It's a
tag
lot.
he's going to have.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I mean, because all my letters come in as Mr. Houghton, and I'm
Right.
living with him at the moment. So if you go through our mail in the morning, it's like, right, let's see whose is whose, and it's like Baron, Lord, Sir, Lord, Knight, Lord, Baron, Lord, Mister. That's one for you, Tom. Thanks.
It must be. This is what I. Thanks to comedy and thanks to this podcast, I've now been able to meet people from all walks of life, all different backgrounds. And what I've learned from it all is that it doesn't matter where you are or where you're seen to be or whatever. It's everybody's fundamentally the same. We're all trying to get by. We're all trying to do our best.
Yeah.
You know, we're all trying to keep it together.
Yeah, human emotion is universal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's always what I try and do in my shows. Like the framing is different. Like, you know, I grew up on army barracks. I live in a palace. I went to all boys boarding school. But everyone knows what it's like to feel lonely. Yeah. Everyone knows what it's like to be angry, to not get what you want, to celebrate something, to be jealous. All those things are you know, they transcend the situation you're in.
Absolutely.
And that's what connects. That's exactly what connects us. And I think comedy is very good at doing that. One thing that is great about comedy, and like you said, you are in the mix with just so many different character types. And when you're on stage, it's a meritocracy because people will laugh or they won't laugh, and they won't care where you're from.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
you find quite quickly in car shares and green rooms that if you try and go, oh, I'm from this, so I mean that, it just doesn't fly.
No,
it's
not
about
at all.
how you are as a person.
Yeah, exactly. And there's this assumption that because you come from where you come from, then, you know, like you go, look, well, yeah, I'm fucking depressed, I'm suicidal, I'm this, I'm that. And they go, well, how can you be? You come from where you come from. You're like you've just said, it's not about all that. It's inside. No. You know, it affects us all.
I always want to be a bit careful when I talk about this because I don't want to fall into the Molly May trap of, well, come on, guys, we've all got the same.
Yeah.
You know, in the sort of hierarchy of needs, I understand that me being sort of, I understand that there are people here who are, they're worried about where they're sleeping, where they're eating and all that. And I've never had that. So I don't want to ever say that, you know, it's just the same as with me, with everyone.
Yeah.
Like I'm very lucky, and one of the reasons I've been able to do this career is because I've had such a safety net to fall back on. Which is, I do find a lot of acts who are maybe from a bit more comfortable backgrounds than they let on.
Yes.
Who I then see preaching about certain stuff and going, hang on a fucking second, didn't you? Didn't you go to private school? Didn't you go to Oxford?
Yeah, exactly. Didn't your parents buy you a house when you went to uni? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So you haven't paid rent in a while, have you? So hang on a fucking second. Naming no names. So
no, not at all.
But certainly as far as there are, of course, other pitfalls that you come into when you come from too comfortable a background. And again, I don't want to get the world's smallest violin out for people, but I think it is important saying, I know a lot of friends from backgrounds where they could have done anything, and so they've ended up never picking anything. And so they end up these quite lost people.
Yeah.
Because one thing I think that they haven't got good just motivation to work or do anything like that. And giving yourself a purpose in life and something that you're passionate about, that counts for a lot. In
Absolutely.
your life.
Yeah.
So, and I also think I struggled a lot coming from a very overly achieving father. And my father was the son of a shop owner.
Right.
So came from not working class, but like lower middle class achieving background. And then became the head of the military, became a Grand Knight, knighted twice, House of Lords, lived in a palace. As a young kid growing up, who was sent away to boarding school at 6 years old, so already had a bit of separation anxiety, to then be like, how do I live up to being that man's son?
Yeah.
I rebelled against that quite a lot, and I went off the rails for quite some time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was only later on that you realise you're not competing against him. You're just doing, you are who you have to be yourself and do your own thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've tackled this on the pod before, but the only person you're competing against is you yourself.
All the time.
And not other people. And my dad would be happy, whatever, and no one was expecting me to try and be in the army or try and get all these awards or anything, and just be really proud of him for doing that. Yeah. And celebrate that, and do your own thing. But it took me a while. When you're going through late teenage stage and you're all angry and you need to focus stuff. Yeah, I definitely rebelled against it.
I can imagine. And you, like you said, you're sent away in your formative years to boarding school, and that's, which is, you still need your parents at that stage. You still need to be in the house, and yet you're sent away, and you have to. Do you have to kind of figure it out for yourself when that happens, or I suppose you're a bit young to remember?
I can remember a lot of it. 6 years old is a really young age to be taken away. Yeah. And the reason I is because of the military. It was either go to boarding school or change school every 1 to 3 years. Right. Yeah. Which is obviously not good either. So my parents picked the lesser of two evils. And so you get a sort of contingency of education grant is what it's called for military kids. I remember I'd been to an open day at my prep school to see what it was like. Yeah. And I'd enjoyed that. And at the end of the day, I'd been collected from my parents. So when it came to them dropping me off for my first month and a half or whatever it was away, on my first day, because I'd been to the open day, in my head, I didn't quite compute what boarding was. Of course, yeah. So on my first day, at the end of the day, all the boarders went to the boarding house, but I stayed with the day kids at the school gates. And then gradually, one after the other, they all got taken away by their parents. Yeah. Until I was just left there on my own. Oh, my God. And the teacher came back out and she was like, Tom, what are you doing out here? And I was like, I'm waiting for my mother and father. They're not coming. I was like, what? What do you mean they're not coming? And that left to, it was... that night, you then have the first night in the dormitory, and you're with a bunch of kids who are going through the same thing. So the first night, I remember, I've got a very, very vivid memory of feeling alone, what being alone really meant for the first time. And the world suddenly went, as in size in my brain, because I'd never been apart from my family. No. Ever. And then suddenly you are completely in this strange room with a bunch of kids who are all crying. You've got a water sheet bed because most kids wet themselves on the first night. And then suddenly you're waking up in the morning and you're being taught how to tie a tie.
Wow. Yeah.
And how to polish shoes. And you're going down for prayers. And you're like, what the fuck is this? But you learn quickly at my school anyway. Because remember, this is like, I think they've done a lot more to help kids nowadays. But back in it was been 1990 when I went, they were still not quite getting, the mental health stuff wasn't as alert.
No.
The kids, if you cried about being alone or missing your parents, basically the older kids who had been through it, it's a reminder to them that they don't like their situation either.
Right.
So they shut you up because they don't want to be reminded about it.
Of course, yeah.
And that's what, there's loads of, it's called boarding school syndrome. And it's an actual diagnosed syndrome.
Wow.
Which means you then you bottle up your emotion. Because I'm going to get deep in it, because why not? The other thing that happens is that there's a sort of a battle in yourself, because you love your parents. Your parents are the best thing ever. They're your parents.
Of course.
And they've sent you to this school where they've said, you're very privileged to go to this privileged school. But you're sad and alone.
Yeah.
So you don't like the school, but your parents can't be wrong, which means the school can't be wrong. So the conclusion you come to is there's something wrong with me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So if you don't like it, and that's where so many when parents go, are you enjoying it at school? You go, yes. Because
you feel
I've been told this is why it's good. Whereas actually deep down, you're a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Who's confused and scared and sad, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Human beings do adapt quickly, and we do figure it out and go, all right, well, this is where I'm at. On a subconscious level, we go, right, okay. And you get your head around it. But it still leaves lasting damage, especially at that age. It must have done.
Definitely. I think the second time I went, the second term I got dropped off, I knew what was happening, and I kicked and screamed and grabbed hold of my mum's leg and wouldn't let go. And 2 matrons had to literally drag me off.
Wow, yeah.
And my mum had to walk away crying. And it's hard for my mum. And I'm talking to her now. She said she used to drive down that driveway, turn the corner, pull the car over, and just burst into tears for 20 minutes. Because she doesn't want to do it, but...
Yeah.
And then gradually as you go along, you get more used to it and bulletproof, and you succumb to the inevitable, and you understand that you can cry, but nothing changes.
Yeah.
I definitely think it affected me in later life, definitely with relationships.
Oh, really?
I had struggle being in a relationship for a long time, because the scar was that the thing that I loved the most abandoned me,
Right,
dropped me
of course,
off.
yeah.
So you can't trust things to stay around.
Right, abandonment issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you do as a protection from that is you end something before it ends on you.
Right.
You steal the loss.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, which
which again happens not just in your situation, but it happens across the board, regardless of class and background. There's people I know, people that I'm very close to, that have huge abandonment issues because one parent or another wasn't around when they needed them to be. And
definitely, I was actually I was chatting with Bobby Mayer about it. Who's I was about to say a famous orphan.
He's been on. I love Bobby. He's great.
Yeah. He's no Bruce Wayne, but he's but as far as orphans go, he's very sort of open about being an orphan. Yeah. And he was saying, well, Tom, he was saying you and me are similar in the way that our families both dropped us off somewhere. I mean, obviously it is different, but the abandonment issue is still. There's a similar crossover there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, again, it goes back to what we said at the beginning, where fundamentally we're all the same. And so the thoughts and feelings that we have, again, regardless of background, that we all experience this the same. on a basic level, and I think again we've talked about this before on the pod. This is why the lockdowns were so difficult for most of us, because we were just shut off from everybody, you know. And even if you were with someone, there was still an element of alone. You know, you weren't able to go anywhere and see people, and you know, luckily we had technology, but it wasn't the same. You know, I think,
it wasn't.
You know,
no,
yeah.
When you feel stagnant, and I think I went back into a bit of boarding school mode actually, and I just sort of went, right, now here's my world, and I'll give myself projects to do, and get on with it. I think weirdly, I think boarding school maybe gave me the tools to deal quite well. I also was very lucky because I went back to the family place and had a garden and all that sort of stuff. Whereas, I mean, some people living in one bedroom, you know, a single mum with 3 kids living in a 1-bedroom. I honestly, fuck. I mean, I don't like. Hats off to anyone, everyone who got through it. But Jesus, incredible.
Well, it's funny. We were lucky because we were down in Leon Sea, so we were right on the where the Thames goes out to sea. So we had a lot of space, and the view was incredible every day. And you know, we were very lucky. But I remember after the first lockdown, of going back into London. And people were still, like, we were allowed to walk around, but people were still in their houses. But yeah, seeing everyone like living on top of each other, I suddenly realised how lucky I'd been in that situation. You know, that, you know, I had a view. I wasn't looking out of my bedroom window into next door's bathroom. It was, you know,
I did have, I went through a breakup just as lockdown happened.
Oh, mate.
Which was tough. Arguably, possibly a good time for it rather than doing it during. But it did mean it was, you struggled to sort of move on from it. Yeah. Because you couldn't, you know, dating was tough. My agent dropped me halfway through lockdown.
Oh my God.
Which was another so I got a breakup and an agent. This isn't working. Which I was a bit like, well, the industry isn't working. What do you mean?
Can we not wait till we're outside? Till we're out the other end?
Yeah, but to be fair, it was through certain circumstances, which I understand. It wasn't a personal thing at all, but it was still like, oh, fuck, right, okay. So, 2 very big pillars of my life which went.
Yeah. So then the abandonment issues again.
Yeah, absolutely. I checked myself into therapy for the first time ever in lockdown.
Oh, really?
Online. Just because I've been hearing so much from everyone just going, it's the best thing to do it. It was like, well, why would I not be doing it now? This is absolutely... And it really helped because it gave me a good sort of checkpoint to keep coming back to. And I did that thing with therapy where the first couple of sessions you do, you just sort of hang up and go, yeah, I think I smashed that gig. Really funny. Yeah, she laughed loads.
Yeah.
And then you realise, hang on, you're not trying to. It's not a performance. And then you have a long period of time where you're talking over stuff which you probably yourself, especially if you're someone like us, who I think, you know, we are probably very self-analytical and have had many dark nights of the soul where you've got to a surface level yourself of analysis of abandonment issues, a bit of Peter Pan syndrome. But then I found out that after like 2-3 months, which is when it starts properly like getting stuff out, you start noticing patterns in the way you talk. You start thinking about things from different angles. And then we got to some, oh, wow, I haven't really ever thought of it like that. Yeah. And it became really beneficial.
I love it. I did it, yeah. And it was, I remember, because I'd had couples counselling before with my ex-partner. And I remember one of the sessions, the counsellor said, you're more worried about me liking you than actually talking about what's really bothering you. Oh shit! Yeah, I suppose I am. I don't want you to think that I'm an asshole. She went, it's not about that. It's about getting everything out, the truth out, and then we can work through it.
It's very hard to get over the fact that, you know, you actually be an arsehole.
Yeah.
Do it, you can be an arsehole, and that's the point. They won't judge you. They won't go, oh, I'm not carrying. This man seems mentally unwell. I'm not carrying on these sessions.
yeah. Get out of my office.
Yeah. No, that isn't what the point is. And also that they're not going to solve, they're guiding you to come to conclude, to discover stuff yourself rather than telling you what to do.
Yeah.
The second one therapy session I did, I started. She noticed that my glass had blueberries and ice in it and stuff. She went, "What are you drinking?" I was like, "It's a gin and tonic." Are you drinking gin and tonics in your therapy session? I was like, "Well, it's 5 o'clock." She's like, "Why do you think that's a good thing to be doing?" And I was like, "Do you know, now you've pointed it out, it's a terrible thing to be doing, and I don't know why. I'm sorry." She's like, I've never had someone drink alcohol in one of my sessions. I was
Incredible.
Like, Are you telling me I'm original? Are you telling me I'm original?
Oh, good. I've got a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
It's funny with you don't realise until you start. I think, what am I trying to say? So, I think the lockdowns and things affected us more than we realised. And again, I had a breakup in between the lockdowns. We were already not getting on, and then in between, we ended up and it hit me harder than I thought it would. Maybe it was amplified because of everything else that was going on. And I was all right for a bit. And I was like, I'll just get through it. I'll get through it. And I was coming back from where I live in Stratford. There's a Tesco. You come along through the woods past this water treatment place. And then there's along the rivers and the canals. It's very nice. But I was coming back, and I just remember looking. There's a bridge. It doesn't go anywhere. And I remember looking under the bridge, going, "Oh yeah, if you just went under there, left your phone in the flats, and no one could trace it, you could just off yourself under there. If you just do it under there, no one will know." And then I was walking back, and I went,
"Wow.
Oh, I need to go and talk to someone. I need to talk to someone." Yeah. Shit.
When you're sort of picking out spots, that's
that's when you need to go.
Different.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, mate. That is.
But it worked. It was fun.
I don't know. When you think about that, I don't know. Everyone always, because when people go, "Oh, have you ever thought about harming yourself or killing yourself?" It's like, well, yeah. Everyone thinks about it. Well, not actually genuine. Obviously, it crosses everyone's mind. I think.
Yeah.
But when you're starting picking out spots and you're really going, okay, then that is definitely a different level.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you say, that people do think about it a lot. But it's like a flash. You kind of go, "Oh, if I just did that, oh, no, that's ridiculous." It's more common than you think.
One of the big things, I think, this is quite tough because I'd had my breakup, and then because you had 6 months or whatever it was, sort of dwelling in lockdown, and then I came to the conclusion, I think because agent had gone and the career was not happening at the moment, that I'd made the wrong decision in breaking up with the girl.
Yeah.
So I then, in the sort of autumn winter time, to November, December, decided I was going to go down to London and try and meet up with her and get her back.
Right.
To which she was like, because she was like, "Oh, I don't think you want this." And I was like, "No, I definitely do." And it turned out she'd found someone already and she'd moved on. And I was like,
and of course, then that ramps it up. Yeah, that amplifies it all.
Oh my God. I remember that moment of time just sort of coming to, and I was walking around like Mayfair, just bawling my eyes out, smoking a cigarette. And I'd been walking for 3 hours. Wow. Just think, because just everything was collapsing. And looking back, getting back with her would have been a terrible idea.
Yeah.
It was just me trying to latch hold of something familiar in a time when everything was going. Yeah. But you're not thinking straight. You go mad.
Yeah.
And I think if any of my friends who did, I got one mate who bought a fucking Ferrari during lockdown. Like how cliched a mental breakdown can you have?
Was it a red one?
And I think It was a red one. It was a red. It was a red one. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, a great car. But at the same time, he was doing night shifts in Sainsbury's to get to pay the rent.
Fuck.
Like, mate, this isn't.
Oh my God.
It was Gareth Ward. Do you know Gareth Ward?
Yeah, I know Gareth.
Yeah.
Really?
Bought a fucking Ferrari, mate.
Shit.
Yeah. While stacking shells in Sainsbury's. Like, what are you doing? And he'll because his thinking was, he said, look, I've lost my dream career to go and stack shelves in Sainsbury's. The least that I can do is give myself a decent ride to and from work. And I was like, mate, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
But that's sort of amazing.
The tyres alone would cost you a year's rent. I mean, that's nuts. Well,
It was a Porsche, not a Ferrari. It was a Porsche.
Oh, right. Okay.
Much more reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone,
fine.
fine. That's all right. I know people have got Porsches. Yeah, fine. It's still, I mean, I went eBay mad. I went crazy on. I was buying all sorts of shite in the lockdowns. Yeah. Just to I don't know, just to get that dopamine hit. I think.
It's something, it's anything. Because then you've got a parcel coming in the mail and you've got something to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's giving you something, yeah. I don't excuse anyone. I excuse anyone going mad during lockdown or doing that ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. Getting through it.
Yeah. I have more of an understanding of people now. Whereas when I was growing up, I think because I was surrounded by quite judgmental people. I won't say who, but they were. Yeah, you know, when you're out and they go, "Oh, look at them! Look at that! Look at them! The state of them!" You know, I grew up with that, and so my brain is still a little bit judgmental. But so I have to have these inner conversations with myself all the time because I see someone, my initial thing is, "This state of that," and then I have to break it down and go.
What are the main things that you judge people for? Is it like attitude, appearance?
Appearance. But now doing this, especially doing this, I have more of an understanding of the initial response is like state of that, and then I'm like, hang on a minute, and then I break it down. I go, you don't know where that person's been, what they're doing, where they've come from, what's going on. Yeah. You don't know anything about that person, but you have made a judgment call just on straight as soon as you've seen them. And we're all a bit guilty of that sometimes, I think.
Because I'm definitely judgmental, but very hypocritical. I know a lot of people who were like, "Oh, did you see them doing this?" And they've had more than 6 people doing that. And it's like, yeah, but didn't you go and visit that person that you weren't meant to? Yeah, but that was only we were only in there for 5 minutes or something. It's not the same. It's like, well, it is the same, innit? But it's just you doing it.
There's a lot of hypocrisy, and as you said, guilty as charged. Yeah. There's a bit of that, but you were, meeting people in the park, and but we were 2 meters away. You go, yeah, but you weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
but
it certainly feels nice to be out of it now. It feels good.
Well, I mean, it's still happening, isn't it? But
did I tell you? I got myself a girlfriend during lockdown.
What?
An online girlfriend.
Well
but
done,
it's
mate.
Still going on.
Have you met her?
Still together. Yes.
I thought you were still online. I'm like, what?
So it was. I mean, in the month or two after me trying to get back with the ex-girlfriend, it didn't work out, and me starting therapy. So I was in a fragile state. Then suddenly this on Instagram, this avatar pops up and it's like, oh, she's very attractive. But I was like, don't message her, because Tom, it's perfectly fine for an attractive woman to follow you. That doesn't mean that she wants you to now start DMing her. Don't be that guy. And then one night I did one of those, I'm a comedian, but I haven't got any actual material to put out, so just ask me a question stories.
Oh, right, yeah. You're fucking fishing.
That we all do. Oh, God, guys. So what do you want to know about my life?
I've never done that, but yeah, go on.
Have you not? Oh, mate, I do it all the time. When I've got nothing else to say, I'll just ask me questions.
Yeah.
And she started talking to me, and then we started FaceTiming over over the internet. And then it was FaceTiming every day. And I think we got really caught up in it because we were both isolating.
Right.
Then it was the Christmas of 2020. She flew over to London for 5 days.
Right.
And then, which was very scary because you have these several months of meeting someone online that you've never met in the flesh. And so like, you know about them,
Yeah.
but you don't know them.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Because like, whenever things get a bit, we've got nothing to say, you can hang up. Whereas then when they're over for 5 days, it's like, they're here. And you can't hang up on them. And you don't really know someone until like one of you's lost the tickets.
Right.
Or,
yes.
Or you don't know them until like there's a long queue.
You could tell, you could tell a lot about a person by when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, well, the shit is a fan. Or in the nothing, when it's like, it's just Tuesday and you're staying in. And then you get to know people. Then you get, not in the sort of holidays and the doing events and stuff. That's just the padding.
Yeah, that's how you know when you're with the right person, when the everyday is like fine. You know, you're getting on and
you accept their madness, because there's that, like, you know, everyone's mad, and the only people who aren't mad are the people you don't know well enough yet.
Yeah, true.
But they will be. And all relationships are essentially a struggle, and they're tough. There's going to be hard times.
Yes.
Basically, the thing about a relationship is you need to pick the struggle that you think's worth struggling with.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah.
And then if you both feel like, okay, this is a situation I can withstand.
I can tolerate this.
Yeah, I'm writing up my wedding vows as we speak. You are a situation I think I can bother dealing with. Your word, but there's a truth to that, right? Because I think we've really romanticized relationships. And at the moment, especially on TikTok and Insta and stuff, people are like, oh, here are my red flags. And it's like, it's not a bad red flag. Like, that's not really a red flag. That's, you're looking for the perfect person. And the perfect person doesn't exist.
No.
And you've got to accept that. And then as soon as you realize that, no, it's about finding someone who is going to be flawed.
Yeah.
But so are you.
Yeah.
And are they flaws that you think you can put up with because the bonuses are so good?
Absolutely. This is it. That's exactly it. Yes.
And that's what I've learned in my mature wisdom.
I like that. Your vows, you are tolerable.
But the thing is, I think she'd actually find that really funny as a vow. I think that would make her laugh.
You're just honest. But you're right. You're so right. It is about finding that balance, like with everything. It's just about, we're all flawed. Like you say, Marcus Berman had this brilliant bit about, we've all got low self-esteem. Have you ever met anyone with high self-esteem? Like, can't.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
They are, people. I had this very conversation this morning with my partner. I was talking to her. We were saying about insecurities and body dysmorphia and things like that. And we were just saying, like, most people, depending on their mood, like, see themselves, oh, fucking state of me today, or I wish this was less, or I wish I had more of this or that. But there are some people where they're like, every day they go, I look great. And you're like, that's a mentally on its own.
Yeah, it's certainly not something I want to deal with. There's a real dialogue I've found, because I've got really big on into social media at the moment, and all the slay queen, you're the best, don't let everyone bring you down, don't let people around you be toxic, blah blah blah. No, you are you and you're great no matter what they say, you are perfect. It's like, yeah. You see these sort of people dancing on tables, being loud and obnoxious, going, yaff queen, yaff queen. Do you ever sort of look at them and go, actually, no, you fucking degenerate.
Get down
Get off the table and fucking eat your fucking quinoa. in peace.
Yeah, there's people. I have seen a few people. There's a list. Oh, I'm getting rid of the toxic people out of my life. I'm doing this. I'm being me, and I'm like, I know for a fact that you are an asshole.
Yeah.
I know you are because I've spent time in your company, and you're the last person that should be putting up anything about toxic people.
And feeling shame is like it's a genuinely really good emotion to feel.
Yeah.
Like Garrett Millerick's got a line that says, "You leave shame where it is. Shame is the seatbelt that is stopping me going through the windscreen of the car crash that is my life." So good.
Absolutely. So there you go, listeners. Embrace the shame. Garrett Millerick.
What, you're just not going to feel shame. You're just
need
not going to feel like, maybe I was bad there.
It's this weird, it's this weird thing where nobody wants to feel anything. Everybody only ever wants to feel positive and up. And you're like, no, life is ups and downs, and you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel shame. You're going to be in a situation that you don't really know, it's not comfortable. You don't have to deal with it. It's just how it is. This is
a revelation, Rich, that I came to when chatting to my mate Henry, who I think you might have met Henry. He's an ex-military guy, and he's gone through PTSD. Had some, we've had some bad car shares. He's had some actual fucking,
yeah.
Oh, okay, mate, that sounds pretty bad. There was no landmines on the way to Jongleurs in
in Runcorn, yeah.
And so and he's had his ups and downs and stuff. And he was chatting to me. He's like, "So how are you feeling at the moment?" And I was like, "I'm content." And he went, "Content's good. Content is, there's a lot to be said about content." And we were talking about the nature of people are always searching for happiness.
Yeah.
Happiness to me is fleeting. Happiness happens momentarily. You're happy, you're up, and then you're down. Whereas contentment, there's a longevity to contentment.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think just being neither really excited and happy or being sad, just being content is actually, and my dad said this, emotional contentment is essentially what you're striving for in life.
Yeah. Peace of mind.
And it's not always up, and it is sometimes down, but it's like a core, like it's deep inside you that you have a tranquility of you can take the up and down.
Mate, that is exactly it. Dave Longley said the same thing, talking to him, and I remember he said that. He said, happiness is an extra thing. It takes more chemicals to reach that, and it, like you said, it's fleeting and it's a burst. You go, tremendous. But to try and maintain that to look around you and go, actually, do you know what? Yeah. All things considered.
Yes.
Oh, mate. What a way to finish.
What a lovely tie on the bow.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful.
Tom, this has been smashing, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I knew you'd be great, mate.
Thank you. It's made me very happy for a fleeting moment of my contented life.
And where can we find you online?
I'm at Honourable Tom. Honourable, spelt the normal way, and Tom again. And I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter are the main ones, but Instagram is my main hub.
Brilliant.
And TikTok if you're cool and young.
I'm on there, but I feel like I shouldn't be. I haven't done anything with it really, but I will.
Yeah. There's a lot of social media choice now. I think pick the ones that you're happy with and just stick to them.
Yeah, you're right.
Don't spread it.
Absolutely, mate. Thanks, Tom.